So this was a hot button tweet and it got me to respond to it. So he said, I'm going to need all the race baiters to explain Caitlin Clark's popularity simply because she's white, to explain why 10 million more people watched her last year than Paige Bueckers, who's also white.
All right, so before we keep going, I was actually planning to drop a separate video just breaking down the viewership numbers, but I saw this clip on X, and I want to see if he gets it right. Like, not how he runs his show, that's his business, but when it comes to the numbers, I want to see if he actually speaks on them the right way. Because a lot of people are getting it wrong. Like, way off. So let's react to this real quick and see what he's saying. Let's get it.
I'll hang up and listen. And this one to me was a lot more complicated. Well, actually a lot more simple than a lot of people thought. Because initially people looked at this, and I could be wrong here, about Dave Portnoy. They were like, yo, well, this is just him talking about race and bait. I actually thought he asked a genuinely good question. So I am going to answer that question for you. Was Caitlin Clark just a racial phenomenon, or is there a deeper story behind her stardom? So y'all better buckle up, because I got receipts and the context that Dave Portnoy actually left out. So let's start with this. Let's look at the ratings, right? So you had 2023 where you had LSU versus Iowa. That did an average of 9.9 million viewers on ESPN, and it peaked at 12.6 million viewers, which was the most watched women's college basketball game ever at that point in time.
Now, mind you, he might say it or someone else might bring it up, because people always do. That whole, oh, if Angel Reese didn't do what she did, nobody would know who Caitlin Clark is. Listen, that moment? That was at the end of the game. Angel did that after the viewership was already there. The numbers were already locked in. So I hate when people try to twist it and say, oh, Angel made Caitlin Clark. Nah. That game was already huge. The viewership? Already there.
Mind you, just a few years prior to that, ESPN signed the deal with women's college basketball to broadcast the tournament. So we've been always setting records all the time, because it was one of those, if you build it, they will come. So then you had 2024. That was after the LSU Iowa with Angel Reese and the "You Can't See Me" thing. Oh, sorry, the "Ring Me" thing. Excuse me. After the "You Can't See Me" and all of that stuff that happened with, I believe, Louisville. So then 2024, you have South Carolina versus Iowa. 18.7 million viewers, over 24 million viewers, as we know, shattered records. And that was actually more than an NBA Finals game that year, which was crazy, doing numbers, right? So then this year you get South Carolina versus UConn. There's no Caitlin Clark, and you had around 13 million viewers per Nielsen and ESPN. And, that was a strong showing, but a lot fewer, over 5 million fewer than 2024. So yes, the Caitlin Clark effect is undeniable, but there's actually a twist to this year's story that people are not talking about.
Before he continues, please tell me we're going to talk about the 66%, please. Please tell me we're going to actually break that down. The 66% versus the 100% compared to the years Caitlin was there and how they did it this year. Please tell me you're going there, my brother. Please. Because I haven't seen anybody really talk about that, and it matters.
And I do understand that Dave was specifically talking about Paige Bueckers versus Caitlin Clark. So, why weren't the ratings as strong? I thought it was just because Caitlin Clark is white. First thing that you have to examine is JuJu Watkins, because JuJu Watkins is the Caitlin Clark this year. It's not Paige Bueckers. JuJu Watkins was the most hyped, most watched, most entertaining women's college basketball player this year. Ankle breakers, fade away, commercials everywhere.
I want to clarify something before we proceed. I'm not going to say that JuJu Watkins was a bigger draw than Paige Bueckers this year. Instead, I think they were equally impactful. USC was consistently drawing crowds of around 5,000 to 6,000 fans per game, which is impressive. Some people have compared JuJu to Caitlin Clark in terms of her impact on college basketball this year. But let's be clear, She wasn't on the same level as Clark in terms of fan recognition or ticket sales. Now, I want to address something that doesn't seem to be getting much attention. The viewership numbers we're seeing don't add up. I was analyzing this last week, but unfortunately, I misplaced my notes. From what I recall, the reported viewership of 18.9 million seems off. If we were to calculate it correctly, considering all factors, it should be closer to 23 million, or even higher. The issue is that they only accounted for about 66% of the total viewership, not the full 100%. This discrepancy affects how we compare Caitlin Clark's viewership numbers from last year to this year's figures. It's like comparing apples and oranges due to the different methods used. Let's get back to the video. Hopefully that made some sense, and I might drop another video to break it down further. This script maintains a conversational tone and addresses the key points you mentioned, including the comparison between JuJu Watkins and Paige Bueckers and the discrepancy in viewership numbers.
And then that matters. The sophomore at USC. She led the nation in scoring. 30 pieces like it was nothing. She got all the juice, charisma, commercials, Hollywood lights, killer instinct, everything. But here's the thing. JuJu tore her ACL in the Elite Eight. So imagine if JuJu Watkins was healthy. You would have potentially USC facing off against Don Staley and South Carolina in the championship game. Now, you don't think that game would have done 20 million plus viewers?
Nah, my brother. Let's be respectful here, man. Look, at the end of the day, you're absolutely wrong on this one. I was rocking with you up until now, but this?
Nah.
You're telling me this would have pulled 20 million viewers?
Why?
Why? JuJu Watkins, on paper, is averaging 5,000 fans a game. So, what makes you think they were gonna pull 20 million viewers? That doesn't even make sense. And mind you, now it circles right back to my original point. This proves what I've been saying. They're doing everything possible to twist the narrative and make it seem like it's even close to Caitlin Clark's numbers. But it's not. It's not close at all. And since you got me fired up now, let's bring something else up. Let's talk about why Caitlin Clark had that interview during the game with Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi. Out of all the games they could have picked, Elite Eight, Final Four, all of them, why this one? Why this specific game? Because they knew the viewership would be massive. They knew Caitlin Clark was the draw.
Period.
So now I want to see a breakdown. What were the numbers during that 1-hour interview with Sue and Diana? And what happened after she was gone? Let's really look at that. This is not close. I'm telling you again, this entire narrative is wrong. Completely wrong. They're basing this year's viewership off of 100% coverage, but Caitlin's numbers last year? That was calculated from 66%, maybe 67%. Like I said, I'm gonna have to go back, do my research again, break it all down for you guys. But I know this isn't right. This whole thing is being framed the wrong way, and it's time we call it out. Yeah, now I gotta make the video.
Come on now, that's a blockbuster Bird versus Magic energy. So when we talk about ratings dropping off because of Caitlin Clark, we need to be real that all things are not created equal. And it wasn't just about race or Caitlin Clark being gone. It's also about the injury and the timing, because we missed out on a superstar at a not traditional power in college basketball, USC, and the behemoth, the big bad wolf that is South Carolina. So then the next thing is, why did Caitlin Clark move the needle to begin with? It wasn't just because she was white. It was because of 5 reasons. Number 1, Caitlin Clark plays fun basketball. She gives Steph Curry vibes. She got logo threes, no look passes. She didn't just score, she performed. And like, you didn't just watch Caitlin Clark, you experienced her playing when you watched her. Then number 2, she had anti-villains. She had foils. It was real villains versus super teams. You had Angel Reese in LSU, that big energy and even bigger confidence. So she had a rival. Like, she had people to go against her. Like, she had somebody, because every superhero, the reason why the superhero is so great is because you have people trying to stop them from doing it, and they got to overcome. That's the story. You had South Carolina and Don Staley, modern dynasty. Geno and UConn, they're still looming. Then you had little old Caitlin Clark out here. She's out here with Iowa in middle America. Oh, shucks crowd. And that ain't exactly a women's basketball powerhouse. It was literally David versus Goliath energy. So that brings up the third point, which is the underdog versus the hero and the villain stories. They are always great, and the people love a good underdog. And Clark gave us that every single March.
Okay, now he's spitting facts. He's spitting. See, I give credit where it's due. There's definitely some things he was way off on earlier, but right here? Nah, he's spitting for real. I gotta give it to him.
Because she wasn't just hooping, she was carrying a program to back-to-back title games against heavyweights. And she was outmanned every single time, but she gave it a good damn fight. That's what people love to see. It's the stories that are even bigger than the moments. And when people have, what's point number 4? Iconic moments. The girl had, the woman, had 40-point games, trash talk, big stage buzzer beaters, because she wasn't just there. She was writing history. She was a part of history. And then the 5th point is, yes, race and culture identity did play a role. Let's be real here. Her image did help her connect with certain parts of America. A white girl playing for Iowa, humble swagger, in a time of racial and political division, it hit different. And yes, she did have fans from everywhere, from barbershops to gyms, twitted, redder, black, Latino, white. She had a universal game. I loved watching the girl play. Now back to Portnoy's tweet though, because Paige Bueckers was great at UConn. She was talented, well-spoken, she was marketable, but she ain't Caitlin Clark and she ain't JuJu either. But the question is why? It ain't because
He's spitting facts right now. This is exactly how I felt. He's spitting, no doubt. Like I said, I gotta give him credit where it's due. Now earlier, you said some stuff I wasn't really rocking with.
But now?
You talking that real right now. You speaking. Not at all. She's not. Paige is not, especially on the basketball court in my opinion, and I hope that's what he's talking about.
she's not very talented. It's because she did not have the March Madness moments. She didn't have a rival. She did not have any of those things. She didn't have a villain going against her. She was at a powerhouse in UConn. They're expected to win the national championship there. An underdog edge just, it ain't there.
He talking that real, and I agree. That's why I'm quiet right now, just letting it breathe. My brother, you are spitting facts right now. 100%. Paige is not what these other girls are. She's at a powerhouse. We expect that from UConn. That's the standard. This right here, now you spittin'. You get it. A lot of people don't understand this. Paige is at UConn. That comes with legacy, resources, and a stacked squad. Winning a natty there? We expect that. It's not shocking. What Caitlin Clark did, that was impressive. What JuJu and them girls at USC were trying to do. If they had taken down UConn, that's impressive. That's underdog energy. So, I get where he's coming from. This is the truth. You at UConn, bro, you're not even standing out like that because your whole team is stacked. You're not an underdog. We expect you to run through teams. So yeah, credit where it's due. He's talking.
So it's not about her being white. It's also about the captured moment, because you had Paige Bueckers miss multiple seasons worth of injuries. So she didn't even have that equity built up with fans to watch her play. They were just like, oh my God, it's cool that she's healthy now. So what's the takeaway from all this? Is that Caitlin Clark didn't become a superstar just because of race. She became the face of college basketball and women's basketball because she had game, she had storylines, she had villains or whatever villains, because obviously Angel Reese is not a villain. but people and the machine trying to stop her, and perfect timing with the ESPN contract.
Also, she's been in a lot of big moments, and that matters. That goes with storylines. Like, come on, Caitlin Clark hit a fadeaway game winner against Nebraska, or whoever it was. There's been so many. Buzzer beaters.
Clutch shots.
National headlines. Like, those moments stick. That's what builds hype. That's what builds the legend. Caitlin Clark was making noise at Iowa, not even some powerhouse. That's big. Storylines, man. That's what carries you. Storylines will take you far in life. And Caitlin? She had plenty.
Like, she literally walked through the fire and put Iowa on her back. And then this year, JuJu Watkins was right there to pick up the torch. And if not for that injury tearing her ACL, we might have had a whole new record-breaking final. JuJu was on pace to break Caitlin Clark's all-time scoring record.
Oh man, I was just hyping you up, bro. I was literally giving you the credit that was due. What is going on with you, my guy? Come on, brother, seriously. We were doing so well. We were locked in until you said that, brother.
Why?
And look, no hate on JuJu, man. I wish nothing bad on her. But I'ma just say this. Fatigue. That's all I'm gonna say. Fatigue. Late game minutes when you shouldn't even be out there. Get your rest, girl. Get your rest. We know how you were getting some of those points. JuJu is a baller, a great player. But she wasn't breaking no records. And now I can already see the narrative coming. Oh, if JuJu didn't get hurt, she would have broken the record.
Stop it.
Just stop.
So what do you think? Was it all about Clark? Did JuJu get robbed of her moment? And was Dave Portnoy out of pocket or asking the right type of question?
All right, let's wrap up here. Shout out to my fellow content creator. No disrespect intended. We're all about respectful discussions in the sports world. I invite you to critique me in my videos as well. I'm not perfect and I know I make mistakes. It's all about sharing perspectives. One thing I strongly disagree with is the viewership numbers. I think they're off because they're trying to make it seem like there's a smaller gap between Caitlin Clark and others. From what I recall, there's a significant difference, around 33%, in how they calculated the viewership. Another point is that narratives about Caitlin Clark's fanbase being influenced by her race are misleading. I also noticed that Caitlin Clark was featured in an interview during a game. I'd love to see the exact viewership numbers for that segment, especially when she was on screen with Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird. I bet that's when the viewership peaked. If Caitlin Clark wasn't involved, would the numbers have been the same? I doubt it. Even if we adjust for the calculation method, there's still a huge gap of around 10 million viewers. JuJu Watkins isn't covering that gap. Caitlin Clark has a proven track record of drawing millions of viewers and selling out large venues. Nobody else has that level of impact. Let's not pretend otherwise. It's not a hypothetical. Caitlin Clark consistently delivers high viewership numbers. Before we go, I want to acknowledge that JuJu Watkins isn't reaching Caitlin Clark's level of viewership. I could be wrong, but based on the data, it seems unlikely. Shout out again to my fellow creator. I appreciate the engagement. If you cover women's sports more often, I'd love to see it. Otherwise, thanks for chiming in on this topic. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and let me know your thoughts on this video. Catch you all in the next one. This script maintains the conversational tone and addresses the key points you mentioned, including the viewership numbers, the impact of Caitlin Clark, and the respectful dialogue between content creators. If you're excited about the Fever in 2025, comment the word champion down below.